Hello again, and welcome to another Psalm in the Palm. Today we're going to continue on with Psalm 139. We began with the first 6 verses where the psalmist, in this case David, spoke about God's knowledge, how God knows everything. And we think of God's omnipotence, but he speaks in very specific terms about God knowing him. God knows him intimately. God knows his words before he speaks them. And so he expresses this and he says, these thoughts are too wonderful for me, because he knows that there's a God who's there intimately involved with him and caring for him. We continue on in verse 7 where he says, where can I go from your spirit, or where can I flee from your presence? If I ascend to heaven, you are there. If I make my bed in Sheol, behold, you are there. If I take the wings of the dawn, if I dwell in the remotest part of the sea, even there your hand will lead me, and your right hand will lay hold of me. If I say, surely the darkness will overwhelm me, and the light around me will be night, even the darkness is not dark to you, and the night is as bright as day. Darkness and light are alike to you, for you form my inward parts. You wove me in my mother's womb. I will give thanks to you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works, and my soul knows it very well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in secret and skillfully wrought in the depths of the earth. Your eyes have seen my unformed substance, and in your book were all written the days that were ordained for me, when as yet there was not one of them. There's a lot going on here, and it's interesting that he sort of shifts gears from God's knowledge of him to the idea, the question, where can I go to hide from God? And it seems like a weird sort of question, because we might think that he's saying, like some of us might feel sometimes, that the idea that there's a God who knows you, who knows everything, that you can't escape, that it's suffocating to know that there's no place where you can run and hide and get away from the presence of this all-seeing God. And when we see God as judge, jury, and executioner, then we might think that way. But again, that's not the way the psalmist is thinking. He says, because this God knows me, and because he intimately cares for me, then no matter where I go, I know that he is there. And it talks about him being in the darkest place. There's no place of darkness that can overwhelm me that you aren't there. There's no distance I can travel where I'm outside of your sight, your purview. He says at one point, darkness and light are alike to you. And we might look at the analogy of dark and light as speaking about evil and good. Sometimes we make that comparison, but that's not the metaphor here. It says it doesn't matter if it's light or not. God can see. He knows. The darkness can't hide you from his gaze. And because of that, he is able to lead you out of that darkness. He is able to lead you through that difficult time. And we need to take great comfort in that. Then he talks about God knowing him before he was even born, in his mother's womb. And I know there's great discussion about when life begins, but for God, it's very, very clear in this passage that it began before David was born. And I don't think David is unique in God's sight. I think all of us, God sees our life and he knows us as people before we are born. And if anything speaks to the personhood of an infant in the embryonic stage or as a fetus, this clearly speaks to this. We need to consider that when we consider the abortion issue. I know that there are a lot of different twists and permutations and arguments, but as far as God seeing, he knows that we're people. He engages with us as people before we are born. That's enough for today. We're going to finish up with Psalm 139 tomorrow. But again, I would encourage you to remember, you could try to run from God and hide from God, but there's no place you can go. But God doesn't want you to run from him. He wants to know that he can see you however deep and dark your circumstances are, and He's able to lead you through them if you're willing to trust Him and look to Him. God bless you, and we'll talk again soon.